Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be watching a video called American Things Europeans Can't Understand. I can think of so many things that I think the European mind can't understand about Americans, but I'm not going to say them until I've seen the list. But I can think of so many things. I think mostly, I'm just going to say like ones that I think it's probably like the one, well, not the biggest, but something that really I do think it's kind of weird. And I think for most people around the world, not just Europeans, I think anywhere, like in any nation that's not the United States, I think it's quite weird that Americans do not, like a lot of people, not saying all of them, but a lot of people don't really have passports and have never like left their country. Like it's normal that they've never traveled anywhere else. I'm not talking about like moving somewhere, just, you know, going on a vacation, visiting another country. I think it's quite normal for Americans to be like that, to be like, I don't know, like a 70-year-old person that has never left the United States and has never like gone on an international plane. And I think that's very weird. Not just, I mean, I think it's weird. Just, I'm sorry, I think it's weird that we do like, why a grown person has never like visited another country. I think that's normal for a lot of Americans. That's their reality. But I think it's weird. And I think a lot of people would think that's weird. And I understand, like, I know the justification is like the United States, it's such a huge country that it's like bigger, I think, as much or as big as Europe. So I understand, like, you have like, so it's such a like sprawling country that you don't really have to visit like somewhere else. Like you can just go and visit whatever it is that you want to, like any landscape you want to, like in the country. But it's still a little like, well, yeah, but it's not just about like it's about like culture and different cultures. But again, I know, but I think it's a little weird. But I don't know. So I'm guessing that's going to be one of them, but I'm not sure. And also I can think of a lot of them, but let's check it out. So comment, like, subscribe, and start.
Culture of the United States is exported all over the world in films and on TV. It also abides by some laws and practices that many consider unusual. Europeans in particular seem to have a hard time wrapping their heads around some of them. From child beauty pageants to gun laws, let's take a look at some American things that Europeans can't understand. Sick of commercials. If you're a European enjoying a cozy night in on the couch in America, some of the stuff on TV may shock and surprise you. And no, I'm not talking about Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I'm talking about commercials, which arrive so frequently it makes watching TV feel almost unbearable to anyone unaccustomed to it.
Well, we have streaming these days.
Especially pharmaceutical commercials, which usually show grumpy men and women turned into smiling, happy people by the product being sold. These are usually followed by an almost comically long list of potential side effects spoken at double speed, like Ambien ad.
As well as abnormal behaviors such as being more outgoing or aggressive than normal, confusion, agitation, and hallucinations may occur. Don't take it with alcohol as it may increase these behaviors. Allergic reactions such as shortness of breath, swelling of your tongue or throat may occur and in rare cases may be fatal. Side effects may include next-day drowsiness, dizziness, and headache. In patients with depression...
Types of direct-to-consumer commercials peddle prescription drugs, which is an advertising standard that was rejected by the European Commission back in 2002. The Commission stated that pharmaceutical companies were unable to provide impartial information on their medicines. If that's the case, why is it practiced in America? To put it simply, there's simply never been a federal law passed to outlaw the practice. This is in no small part thanks to the fact that direct-to-consumer drugs and their accompanying ads are a huge business. And in America, whether it's right or wrong, the rules tend to follow the money. Europeans might actually need a pill for the headache all those ads give them. May cause drowsiness, loss of limb, telepathic powers, and a violent hatred of cheese. No place like home. Let's say you're a European who's just moved over to America. You found a house in a nice residential neighborhood and you're going through your bills. Rent, water, gas, electric, all seems in order. But wait a second. What's a homeowners association fee? To a native, that's a pretty obvious question. But for Europeans, it's an unwelcome surprise. These fees contributes to the local homeowners association, which is somewhat like a neighborhood watch, but managing funds to be reinvested into the community. It goes towards things like residential maintenance and common spaces, which keeps residents happy and property values up. With around 24% of all Americans living under a homeowners association, they pay $200 to $300 on average per month in fees to these entities.
That's
Now,
a lot
while
of
some
money.
Europeans might struggle with this concept, it was a form of governance that was actually invented by France back in 1804. The
Oh, so
condominium law
they
was
invented it there.
exported to the U.S., where it became incredibly popular. So, for any European that wants to complain about homeowner regulations and
You guys
fees,
did it.
feel free to blame the French. Vacant vacation days. The USA has one of the largest economies in the world. A tremendous economy, in the president's words. But Europeans looking to get into the American world of work are often shocked when it comes to vacation time. U.S. workers are not entitled to mandatory paid vacation at all.
Okay. Yeah,
Usually
no.
the issue of paid leave is left at the discretion of employers. And yes, that does include national holidays. According to research
them.
from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2017, only 77% of American workers had access to paid vacation. Now, the reason that might leave Europeans slack, John, is
plenty.
because
More than I
mandatory
thought.
paid vacation time in Europe starts at 4 weeks. In fact, America is one of the only Western countries where law doesn't enforce companies to give its employees mandatory paid vacation time. Don't believe me?
It's the only
Take a
one.
look at this map breaking down mandatory paid vacation time by country. Only the great countries are known not to give paid time off. It's a working culture that undoubtedly favors employers over employees. Americans
More
might
money.
want to think about learning Chinese instead, as employers in China must legally offer 5 days of holiday. Although that is after one continuous year of work.
Oh my
Win some,
god.
lose some, I guess.
Yeah.
Florida man. If the American states could be
The
looked at
concept of
as
a
a
Florida
dysfunctional
man.
family, then Florida would be the weird uncle who once ran away with the circus and wrestled a tiger. The Sunshine
Yeah,
State
it's
is
a
the
black
third
sheep.
most populous state in the USA and receives over 100 million visitors year on year. With so many people living between Miami Beach, Disneyland, and Pensacola, a little crazy is bound to be found on the fringes of society. But what Europeans aren't prepared for are the crazy antics of
Yeah, the
Floridians that make daily
insanity.
headlines. From Florida man believed that he was half man, half dog in March 2019 to Florida man robs bank, strips naked, then runs down the street throwing stolen money everywhere. In
So they
July
didn't do
2017,
anything with the
you
money.
can search the internet for almost any day of the year and find a headline announcing Florida man has committed an utterly baffling crime. There doesn't seem to be
Baffling.
an equivalent for any European countries, although the UK comes close with some of its questionable journalism topics like
Britain's fattest woman ate fridge and died.
Let me know the
What?
funniest local headlines you've ever seen at stories@bmas.com. VAT trouble. In Europe, like most of the world, tax is built into the price of items in-store and online. So what you see on the tag is what you pay. But Europeans visiting an American store might be left doing a double take at their bill when they reach the register. There is no national sales tax or value-added tax in America. Instead, American taxes
sales
differ
tax.
by jurisdiction,
yeah.
of which there are around 7,000. Differences in these local rates, state taxes, or combined state and local taxes means that final prices for the same item can differ from one street
It's
to
more.
the next.
Yeah.
For first-time shoppers in the U.S., this unpleasant surprise is a rite of passage that no one asked for. Tipping point. A meal at a restaurant can be a real treat, but Europeans visiting America sometimes stress about the tip. Although tipping anywhere up to 20% seems normal to most Americans, there's no such obligation in Europe. Indeed, it's mostly seen as a bonus reward for good service, and in some
Oh.
European countries, it's even considered rude and excessive to leave a tip. The American federal government,
Why would it be
however, states
rude?
that tips can be used to satisfy the difference between the employee's hourly wage and the standard minimum wage.
Yeah.
This means food servers, valets, and in-house staff in certain states can be working for a federal wage of just $2.13 per hour, which is about €1.96. So if you're a European visitor to the States, get ready to factor in your tip to the overall price of your meal. You might well be contributing to a struggling waiter's rent.
Not the tear.
Child beauty pageants.
That's
if you've ever
insane.
been unfortunate enough to have watched an episode of Toddlers and Tiaras on TLC, I think you might side with the Europeans on the next matter. Child beauty
Yeah.
pageants are common across America and usually consist of dolled up little girls being thrust onto a stage to entertain a crowd of screaming moms. It's truly bizarre. But what's equally strange is how the craze got started. Child pageants originated from American Better Baby contests in the early 20th century.
Better
Babies would
Baby?
be scored on characteristics like weight, quality of skin, and face shape, supposedly in the name of helping to educate mothers on best practices for healthy babies. But of course, it wasn't just for education purposes. There were also cash rewards and trophies for top-ranking
Oh my
toddlers.
God.
This has slowly devolved into the bedazzled tradition of pushing a child on stage in full makeup and styled hair to do a dance routine for prize
so
money.
creepy, I
Although
can't.
some European countries host similar but smaller events, others like France have gone as far as to ban all such pageants, claiming they're an unhealthy way to treat young girls. If you ask
Super
me,
agree with
the
it.
general creepiness alone should be enough to slam the brakes on child beauty pageants. Honey
Yes.
boo boo, no thanks. Size is everything. According to an old saying, everything's bigger in Texas. But if you're a European, you'll probably think that about all of America, right down to its people. It's no secret that America has a little bit of a weight problem. 2/3 of American adults classify as overweight, and it's estimated that almost 40% of adults in the US aged 20 and over are obese. Contrasted to Europe,
That's a
where a
lot.
survey carried out in 2014 labeled just 15% of adults obese. That's a king-size
Wow.
difference, with a
It's
side
so-
of fries.
yeah, the difference is a
American
lot.
tendency to overeat might have something to do with portion sizes in the States. A study comparing
ginormous.
portions in Paris and Philadelphia revealed food outlet portions were 25% larger in Philly. And a review of
25%.
17 different single-serve foods like yogurt and candy bars found that 14 of them were bigger in Philadelphia. While a one-state to one-country comparison doesn't necessarily represent the whole, Europeans on
true.
social media
I
often
believe it.
comment on how much bigger everything seems stateside. Have
believe
you
it,
noticed
yeah.
this difference in portion sizes? Let me know in the comments below. Bonus points for food puns. Oh, sugar. Living in America can really give you a taste for the sweet life, but your teeth won't
With
thank you
desserts?
for it. Why? Well, some American foods and drinks have been found to contain huge amounts of sugar compared to their European equivalents. Some common bread brands contain up to 6 grams of sugar per serving, 6 times the amount found in European counterparts. But it doesn't
What?
end there. Taking a look at Pizza Hut's sugar content reveals most of their stateside pizzas have close to double the amount of sugar per slice as
But it's the same
European
company.
versions. And in Starbucks, a UK venti white chocolate mocha will contain 62.4 grams of sugar.
Oh my
But
God,
in
that's so
America,
much.
that shoots up to 72 grams.
Oh.
I've heard of sweetening the deal, but any Europeans making the trip across the Atlantic might leave suffering from the toothache. Gaps in the market. European standards of building a public restroom involve plenty of privacy, mainly in the form of cubicles with doors that are more door than gap. Seems obvious, but it's a standard that Americans just can't seem to adopt. With ridiculously large gaps at the top, bottom, and
Oh.
sides, it makes for a truly uncomfortable first visit to an American toilet for unwitting visitors. On their first time, Europeans are left feeling especially susceptible to unwelcome visitors and peeping toms. Some people even resort to taping up the gap to prevent prying eyes looking in.
Not a
But as
peeping
strange as the
Tom.
design seems, there are some theories as to why Americans build their stalls this way. For a start, high floor gaps allow for easier cleaning, and they do make it simpler to pass toilet paper from one cubicle to another. On top of that, the vertical gaps act as a
You're gonna get it
deterrent
on
for
top.
anyone thinking of doing anything naughty behind closed doors. But there's always the chance you might accidentally get a real eyeful. Maybe just close your eyes before entering any American restrooms.
Why would you look around? Just go to
Triggered.
the stall.
It strikes many Europeans as a bit odd that in America you can pick up your groceries from one aisle of a store and a gun from another. Indeed, you can
Oh.
buy guns over the counter in places like Walmart, and ammo can be found in pharmacies. But
That's
seeing as
insane.
guns are still legal in many parts of Europe, what is it that Europeans find weird about the gun-loving, rifle-wielding, Second Amendment-touting American citizen? It might have something to do with America's gun-related death rate, seeing as per capita, there were 12 gun-related deaths for every 100,000 people in America in 2017. Very
That's
few
awful.
European countries exceed 3 gun-related deaths per 100,000 people, and none even come close to America's 12 per
It's an insane
100,000.
amount
The
compared to
causes
them.
of the problem are fiercely debated, but it might have something to do with how easy it is to buy a gun. Background
It's very
checks are
accessible.
usually carried out, but a research survey from Harvard in 2015 estimated that a third of American gun owners have purchased a firearm without a background
Of
check.
course.
In Europe, many countries like Austria and Germany require would-be gun owners to go through a rigorous 7-step procedure before owning a gun.
As it should be.
High-caliber handguns are outright banned in the UK, and many categories of semi-automatic weapons are illegal to own across Europe. It's simply much harder to legally purchase a gun in Europe than it is in the US, which I'm sure is a trigger point for some.
It was a pun.
Have you
I get it
noticed
now.
any all-American quirks of your own? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, they didn't really mention that. It was more about like actual, I think, like things and cultural differences. But I'm a little shocked by, I think the thing that's like foremost on my mind is like the amount of sugar. Like, wait a minute. I know that because if you ever been in the US, you know that the portions are quite large. You know that the things are, it's why is it that big? Like the portions do tend to be quite big in general. But I didn't really, I don't know why I never thought, like especially if you compare like the same companies, the same food, because it's the same company. So it's the same food, it's the same company. How come it has more sugar in the US than in other European countries? Why do they do that? Why want to know? Why, you tell me, like, why? Because shouldn't it be done like it's the same? Again, I would think like Starbucks, for instance, like they make the coffee like tastes the same. It's the same, right? So why would you put like more sugar in the American version? That's crazy. It's just like a taste thing because they've done research and it has shown that people in the United States like prefer the versions that have more sugar. Like that's what it is. I'm thinking like more in the line of like coffee, because well, coffee, it's a beverage, not actual coffee, you know, coffee as in like black coffee with no sugar. But I mean, like the Starbucks drinks, they tend to be like beverage with like one tiny shot of coffee. But I'm thinking maybe like there you can really do taste the difference between the amount of sugar, obviously, because if you're used to like very sweet things, of course your beverage, your coffee, it's gonna be like, this tastes weird if it doesn't have enough coffee. But I'm thinking of like the pizza one. That's like, wait, and the bread, like that, it's there's sort of like salt, savory things. Like that's not sweet. Like why would it have sugar in it? I know that bread does have some amount of sugar. Like you need like the yeast needs sugar, but it's like a tiny amount. Like a loaf of bread, how much sugar could it have? And you're telling me it has like 8 grams of sugar more, and in Europe it only has like less than 2 grams or something like that, because again, it's bread. It's not like a sugary and a dessert. It's just it's something like, again, it's just a meal. Why would it have that? And even pizza, which I know pizza, like I'm guessing it's the dough, because the sauce is like what, marinara? Like you do put some sugar in it, but like not that amount of sugar, like not enough to make a difference. So it's crazy why do they do that? I want to know if it is because they've done research and people just like outright reject the versions that do not have sugar. They're like, no, this tastes weird. I want more sugar. I need the sugar. Maybe that's what it is. Because otherwise, I'm shocked, and I can't. And could they even tell the difference? Because I don't think they can. Like, you wouldn't know the difference between like 5 grams of sugar and like if I give you two things, like 2 pieces of bread, two loaves of bread. I would guess you're not like, this does taste sweeter. Although maybe it is. I don't know. I would love to do a comparison and be like, no, you know what? I can feel the difference. I would love it, actually, if they like do a blind test and see like how do they actually taste difference, because if you know, of course you're gonna be like, no, it does taste different. But a blind test, I think, would be the way to go. But obviously, you know, the gun laws, yes, of course, like it is quite easy in the United States to get a firearm, because again, they do like the background checks, but that's not like, a lot of places do sell guns without it, and that's why obviously it's quite shocking that they do sell like ammo and guns in places like, again, like in Walmart or something, like just like a normal store that you go and buy stuff. It's like, oh, I can actually like buy a gun here. Obviously, like that's so strange. It is very weird, and I would venture to say a lot of Americans actually do feel that's weird. Not all of them, but I would think a lot of them do actually think like, you know what, that is, you have a point. It is quite weird. something that also like it's funny. It's the bathroom stall thing, because they do point it out. Oh, it's easier to clean. It's easier like if you have to pass the toilet. But you know, in Europe, like it's the same. Like, I don't think that's the reason, because in Europe they also have to clean, and they also want like, hey, you know, you need toilet paper. Although again, you can like the toilet paper, you can like get it like I can pass it on top. Like you don't need to do it like from below. So I don't understand that logic. And also, I think the gap thing, it's quite funny. I think they do point out like it's just like it's not like a huge gap. Obviously, it's like it's a gap maybe like this. I don't know, but it's like, oh, you have to like pass when you're passing by. You're like this. No, but it's not like you're not going to like, I don't know, like, oh, it's someone there. Just like if you're seeing like feet, just don't go into that stall. Like you don't need to. I think it's more like a society thing. Like, come on, it's a cultural thing. You don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, just as you would be if you're in that position. Of course I wouldn't want anyone to be looking at me, so like why would you do that? It's not like I'm gonna be like right in the little gap, looking at the little gap, and everyone's like, oh, look at this person. It's like, no, just like walk normally, but do not stand there. I think it's just an unspoken agreement of just walk straight and just like go and you look like down below. If you look at feet, then great, but do not like get it's not like you're gonna actually like be a peeping tom and be like, no, let me see. But it is funny that and I don't know, like it's one of those things that I don't think like you've ever noticed, like the stall thing. It's weird and funny to me that no, it's like it's a lot of them, and that's why it's known, and they're known because again, like it's the stall thing. It's a thing. It's an actual thing. And also, I think to tax this one, I'm not surprised. I'm actually surprised by the European. Like Europeans just get the price that it is. Like, hey, if something costs, I don't know, €1, then it's just €1. I cannot. I'm actually shocked by. They do have like the taxes like putting on everything. I guess that would be quite shocking to me, and also like a welcome surprise, because yes, it's great that if they tell you, hey, this costs this amount, like that's the amount you're gonna pay. And I would be shocked if it is like that, or it's like no, it's sort of like that, but at the end they always do add up something. I don't know. I would be super interested to find out, because that would be extremely shocking to me. Like, no, it's €3. It's €3. Like, I promise you, it's gonna be more. That would be weird to me, because I'm used to like things always having like hidden taxes somewhere. So it's like, oh wait, you know that €1 is gonna pay more. And also that like the tipping thing. Also, I think that's a little weird that Europe is not used to, like, and apparently it's considered rude. I don't know why it's rude to leave a tip, but I would leave a tip. I think that's normal. So apparently in Europe, like that's a no. That was quite shocking to me, you know, by the way. But yeah, incredibly illuminating. And I really loved this video. And that was it for today. And I'll see you next time. Bye.